All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Harold Knight, and this is Mark Prudhomme right here, or Prudhomme, or however you want to pronounce his name. I've known Mark a long time, still can't pronounce his name. But that's nothing unusual for anybody from Kentucky. But anyway, I appreciate the opportunity to come up here today. Mark and I have been talking about the seminar here, what we're going to do. You know, we like for y'all to participate in it as much as you can. But ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. It's hard to, in an hour's time, to go over all the turkey hunting tips and things that you might want to know. But feel free to ask a question when the time comes. And we're going to go over a few calls here today. We're going over the tube call. And Mark here has got, I call it the wing bone call, and everybody else calls it something else, but it's always a wing bone call to me, the suction call. And he's going to demonstrate that. And I think Mark, without a doubt, in my travelings and hunting and been around a long time. This is 67 years I've turkey hunted. 67 years. Mark Prudhomme might be the best all-around game caller in the world. I say that every time I'm around it. He amazes me how good he is. And he's won many a championship. He's not only a good caller, folks, he's a dang good hunter too. And when you can put those two combinations together, I try to keep him off my land. But anyway, I'm gonna let Mark do a little talking here. We're gonna do a little calling, and don't be afraid to ask questions. My gosh, we want to try to answer all the questions you can. I'm gonna tell you something too. Just because I've hunted all these years and watched lots of turkeys being killed and killed myself, them suckers humble me every year. So don't think I've got all the answers. That's the reason I like to turkey hunt. I have not totally figured them out. And if you think you have, you're wrong. I broke my speech on many a night laying in bed what I'm going to do the next day. And buddy, I changed that speech the next day, and I got up when he made a fool out of me. All right, Mark.
I just want to say that what he said, one thing he said is true. He don't want me on his land because every time I hunt with him, we hunt somebody else's land. No, I've enjoyed a lot of years with Harold and David, and hunted with them, and it's a pretty neat experience. You know, I grew up like a lot of y'all, watching Harold and David and learning from them, but to get to go with them and spend a lot of time with Harold over the years, being a Knight and Hill pro staffer from way back, you know, just being around them, and I've tried to soak it all up. And I can tell you right now, I've always said Harold is the best all-around game caller because I've not found anything that he can't run. But the main thing is we're going to talk a little bit about what y'all want to hear, so please ask questions. And like Harold said, we don't know everything. I mean, as long as he's been hunting, as long as I've been hunting, I still learn things, and I still have many times the turkeys seem to be much smarter than me. I've made a lot of mistakes turkey hunting, and I'm hoping that I've learned from those, and maybe I can help you as well.
You know, I'd like to start off, you know, I'm going to tell y'all what I like to do when I go turkey hunting in the morning. What's some of the first things I do? You know, what's some of the first calls that I use? And I've got some calls probably some of you never would use to turkey hunt to make a turkey gobble. You know, I'll try anything to make a turkey gobble. I don't care what it is. Somebody said, I can take a car door and make him gobble. I said, yeah, but you can't pack it with you. You know, I want something with me where I can try to make him gobble. And I'm going to demonstrate some of that. And, you know, I use an owl call. Believe it or not, I'll use a crow call. Crow call is probably my all-time favorite. I use a quail call. It's a hawk call. I'm going to demonstrate that. You know, we ain't got quail anymore in the United States, hardly. Just a few spots here in the country we have bobwhite quail. But I used to love to hunt quail. And I'm going to demonstrate. I had a turkey to gobble last year. I had some guy with me from Arkansas. And I would not have got that turkey to gobble if I hadn't. It's the middle of the day. And I blew that hawk call, a high pitch. Boy, he couldn't stand it. he gobbled at us. Of course, I put that hawk call on and got me a little soft call out, and boy, he was ready. You know, when you get a turkey to answer you up in the day, you know, like in the afternoon, and you'll usually kill that turkey if he gobbles it more than 1 or 2 times if you don't scare him. But how many people, you know, a lot of states is not hunting in the afternoon. I'm gonna tell you something, folks. You ought to get to hunt in the afternoon. You let, a working man needs to hunt. He might get off at 2 or 3 o'clock and get to hunt that afternoon. Our kids getting off the school bus, I used to get off the school bus and run every step of the way to the house to get the squirrel hunt or something. He gets off the school at 3 o'clock, he still got time to go turkey hunting. And I think we ought to get to hunt in the afternoon. And I love to hunt in the afternoon. And matter of fact, it's one of my favorite times to hunt. Probably my favorite time, 10 o'clock in the morning. When that old hen done left the gobbler, she's lonesome she can be, and boy, when she answered me, I'm talking about things on them. All right, Mark, what do you want to use first? Use that owl call. Mark Prudhomme here can blow an owl call, and I ain't getting mine out when he's on the stage. Or when we hunting, I don't get mine out. All right.
Well, one thing that I'm big on, and it goes back to everything that I try to do is realism. It doesn't matter if you're blowing a crow call, blowing an owl hooter, a diaphragm call, a trumpet, a tube, anything you do, you should sound as real as you can. You want to blend into the woods. You want to be a part of the area that you hunt. Yeah, you can blow an owl hooter and it sounds somewhat like an owl and they'll gobble at it. But you got to think about what other people are doing. How many times have y'all been hunting on public land or hunting nearby a farm and you can tell a man is over there blowing a hooter. You can tell a man in the middle of the day is, you know, running that crow call. Try to be as real as you can because them turkeys figure that stuff out too. So another thing that I noticed with owl hooting is people just do too much. You can get a little bit more excited or do a little bit more if the owls aren't answering, if the turkeys aren't answering you. But my ultimate goal that I'm doing is I want to hear, I want to listen. So I'll just do a short hoot and then I'll listen. I've had turkeys cut me off at one note of an owl call. I've had turkeys that would let me go through a full rendition before they would gobble. But I'm gonna give him that opportunity to gobble at that first sound. And then what I'm gonna do, if he won't gobble, I'm just covering a small area with an owl hooter. So what I wanna do is I wanna try to get those owls fired up. How many times, I know everybody in here is owl hooted and want to answer you over on the next ridge. Well, think about that. You're covering a lot of area. You can hear a turkey gobble a long way. So if you take that owl hooter and you don't get a response, keep calling and sound as much like an owl as you can. Get those owls fired up and let them do the work for you, and then you just got to sit back and listen. Because I don't know how many times I have been hunting with somebody and I'm blowing the hooter and the turkey gobbles and then everybody's like, oh, he's over there. You know, nobody can tell where it's at because you run the hooter. So what I do is I start off with just a one note. And then I'm gonna listen. And I'm gonna give him time to gobble. If he doesn't gobble, then I'm gonna step it up a little bit. I'm not gonna just immediately go to a crow or anything else.
If I'm hunting with Mark, I don't need to be right beside him. I need to be out here where I can hear. And that's where a lot of people make mistakes. They get right close and making foot rackets and all that. Get out there where you can hear.
So then I'm gonna try to get a little bit more. I'm still talking to the turkey at this point. And I'm gonna listen. If I don't hear anything, then I'm gonna start talking to the owls. And I'm gonna try to get those owls fired up. I'm gonna let them do the work. So I start doing something that's gonna get the owls excited. And that's usually that laughing of the barred owl. can sit back and listen to owls, because they're gonna answer you, they're gonna be landing all over you too, but covering a lot of territory after that.
What did I tell you about his calling folks? All right, the owl call, I use the owl call every time I go turkey hunting, usually early in the morning. You can use the owl call on up a day, you know, owls holler up a day, but I go to a crow call up in the day, you know, and I love a crow call. Most everywhere I hunt in the United States is crows. But I'm gonna tell you something, I was in Kansas this fall, and I thought I had crows in Tennessee and Kentucky, some of these states I hunt. But when I tell y'all, I saw 200,000 crows on in. Not 100,000, 200,000. I said, my gosh, what is these crows? They flew by me like blackbirds for 2.5 hours. And I asked them in farmers, said, yeah, I said, they'll get in one big field, they feed is what they're doing. But they flew by for 2 solid hours, 2.5 hours. I mean, it's over 200,000 crows. When you got that many crows, you know, turkey know what a crow is. But a crow call is my favorite call, probably, to make a turkey call. And a lot of people, I think, blow a crow call a little too timid. I like to blow a crow call that, you know, don't get out there and expect a turkey gonna answer you going like that. Put some feeling into it. I mean, feel like you a crow. You know, put that feeling into it, and he'll answer that. And he'll answer it most all during the day. You know, another call I use a lot of you here, and I'm not trying to say anything. I wish I had some of them to sell. I don't have any of them. But this is a quail call I made over 40 years ago. We sold those calls. It was very hard to make. But I kept some of them, and I used one this year, I used one last year, and I'll use one this coming season. And it's a quail call. Most of you, a lot of people raised up now never hearing a quail, bob white or one whistle. You know, a hen will go, the bob white. But this is not what I use it for. I use it as a hawk call, that high-pitched shrill sound that you don't even hear, sort of like a dog whistle or something. That turkey hears it, and he will turn loose and gobble. And it's a, and I use that, but I'll give you some good advice. Don't inhale till you blow out to get the seeds out of it. Because I have coughed for an hour after I've done that. So, but anyway, that's 2 of the calls that I use. I use owl call, like Mark used, and I use these 2 calls. But another, if I'm hunting around, you know, a lot of places I hunt, it might be a bottom for the Canadian geese. Canadian geese in the spring of the year are mating. You know, they got that double cluck. Look, and I take a little tube call like this, and a goose call with to make a turkey answer. Like, and he'll answer that call. And that's just a little tube goose call. It's easy to pack, but I tell you what, you gotta watch. You can get rattling with calls. You know, I'll end up, I notice something every year. I'll start out with more calls than I need the first of the season. All y'all just like me. I mean, y'all know different. Y'all got your vest full of calls. At the end of the season, I bet you ain't got half them calls in there. And you probably keep your favorite calls. It might be a box call. It might be a push and pull call. It might be a you know, slate call or glass call. But you'll have your favorite in there, and you'll always probably have a mouth call. Everybody's mouth calling, and I think the biggest thing about a mouth call that I like is you can put it in your mouth and your hands free. I asked a boy here the other day, I said, every time you called, he'd throw his hand up and say, you ain't hands free, you're doing that. You're throwing your hand up every time you call. You got your gun up there and you're throwing your hand up. You gotta learn to call, you know, your hands down and your mouth shut, you know. But anyway, a mouth call is a good call, but I tell you what, I venture to say the people I've hunted around, they blow them way too much. You get way too loud, you get way too much calling. And these turkeys get used to it. And so I want Mark here we've got we've been selling today, some tube calls. We had, about 15 or 20 that I've had for 25 years. I brought them for Mark here today to sell. And, boy, they win. But the best call, the one I like, is the one he makes and selling up here, and we don't have very many left. I'm gonna tell you something. I'm not trying to put a sales pitch to you. I'm telling you something I use. I use this call every year. It's a tube call, and my gosh, that dude will make a turkey answer. I was in Mississippi last year struggling, and I got that thing out, and boy, it was on. When that turkey answered me, I put it up. I got me a soft call out. It might be that trumpet call that Mark's got. It might be a little mouth call, real soft, or a slate call. But I use something softer to finish him up. I get one started on one thing, I might have to finish him up on something else. All right, take that tube call right there and show them what you've been doing.
Well, we're talking kind of locators, talking about different things that'll make a turkey gobble or strike one in the middle of the day. And I use a tube call for that a lot. I will call, most of the time I'm running a trumpet. I use a trumpet call almost exclusively. But I really, and what Harold's not telling you is he pretty much invented the tube call back in the 70s. He probably sold one of the very first tube calls that there was. And we kind of got together on this, and he helped me, and we looked at some different designs, and this is one that we come up with, and he's been running it, and he calls me every time he kills a turkey with it, tells me how what it did and how he fooled them and all that. But he's in the mountains, he's trying to strike birds a long way off and stuff like that. I'm in the swamp, flatlands, and I'm trying to get birds to gobble a long way too, because I can't get to them, or maybe I need to, pine thickets, that kind of stuff. He's got that pretty hill country with them hardwoods, and I'm in them thick briars and pines where call just don't penetrate that far. So what I'll do with a tube call is just try to locate one, shock one. And I do a lot of cold calling, which means I go in a place that I feel like there's a lot of turkeys or have been turkeys at that time, whether it's through sign or whether it's birds I've seen. I always start soft with a trumpet, but that doesn't always work. So locating them, trying to figure out where they are, I'll go to the tube. Now, I like soft calling on a trumpet. I like subtle, soft stuff. And like I told you, realism means everything to me. I want it to sound as real as I can, not as loud as I can. Tube call's a little bit different. I want to sound as loud as I can, but I also want to keep that realism. So when you hear that old hen cutting and she's yelping, hard yelping, it fires them up. And there again, you got to listen too. You can't just go into a long assembly yelp and the turkey's gobbling over there. So you kind of run a little short series, do a couple of excited cuts and some hard yelping, and then listen. And then I'm gonna listen. And usually they'll hit that pretty hard. If there's a bird there, it usually gets them excited, whether they got hens or not. And that's the thing. They may gobble at you, and they may give you a courtesy gobble or whatever. Don't mean they're coming. That's something else you're gonna have to deal with. But if you can know where they're at, that's half the battle right there. The way I run a tube call is a little bit different than most people run a tube call. I don't use a lip stop, and like I told you, Mr. Harold, he's been running these things for 50 years, but I got him now where he's not hardly running a lip stop. And the one thing that I'll say about that is you don't need a lip stop. You think you need a lip stop. I don't down anybody's call that has a lip stop or anybody that likes to run a lip stop, because everybody does their own thing and you do what's comfortable for you. for me, it just gives me the option of changing some things, changing some pitches and tones, and running the call a little different. And I'll give you an example of that. When you run a call with a lip stop, and like I say, there's nothing wrong with that, it locks you into a set position, and that's where you run the call. Luckily, you know, the first sound you make is usually good when you run a lip stop, because it puts your lip in exactly the right spot and everything's just right. It helps you to put the latex on, it gives you kind of a guide. But once you get to where you can control the call really good, it gives you the opportunity to change some things. And changing the angle is going to change the pitch. I'm going to give you an example of that. So I'm going to run a high pitch yelp, and then I'm going to drop down into a deeper yelp. And all I'm doing is changing the angle. I'm not changing the air, not changing pressure, just the angle of my lip on the angle of the air going into the call. You can hear that pitch change. Every turkey's not the same. There's turkeys that are going to like that high pitch. There's turkeys that are going to like that low pitch. He's hearing hens every day. There's a few hens that he's going to like better than other hens. He may recognize that as a hen that he's heard before. So being able to change that kind of when you take that lip stop away, it gives you the opportunity to change and run it differently. So that's Harold's, probably his,
I apologize for that. All right.
So that's kind of what I like about a tube call, and what the versatility. And you know, he's running, basically you can run the same call to do the goose. So I don't know how many times I've used the goose to locate turkeys and kill geese too. It's kind of a real versatile call. You can do most anything. You can do sandhill cranes, all kinds of different things on a tube. But it gives you the option.
You know, one of the questions asked a lot, how have you changed the membrane, the rubber on these calls? I found out something, took me years. I'd put a lanyard around my neck. I'd go to a turkey, I'd be, you know, hustling around, going through limbs and brush. My diaphragm would be wrinkled up or off. So I eliminated that. I come up, homemade, I built me a little pill thing here. I put my thing in there, and I have not changed that rubber on that 1 year. I hunted all last year. I put it around my neck. When I hear that turkey, I stop, I undo it. It's good. It's not tore up, and I take it out. Now, I have had to go back after I shot a turkey and find it, because I lay it on the ground. So if it, you know, once you call camouflage, because you can't find it. But that's the idea there, and we're not trying to sell that. I don't even have any of it to sell. You can make, you want it, have a canister, and put your little lanyard on it, put it around your neck, and that really helps you a lot. And another question we have asked, I had asked to me this morning, how often do I use a Kee-kee run in the spring of the year? Believe it or not, I do. I whistle a lot in the spring of the year. I hear lots of turkey hens do it in the spring of the year. It's just not a fall call. You know, spring of the year, a turkey will whistle a lot of times. And I take, a lot of times, it might be a mouth call, take this little tube call, like, you know, whistle back at him. Like, and I use that a lot of times in the spring of the year too. It's not just a fall call, it's a spring call too.
Yeah, the Kee-kee is definitely, you know, how many times early in the spring have you had birds that are locked up with hens and got a bunch of birds around them? You call to them and they'll gobble at you, but they won't leave the hens. And what, you know, one option is to try to call those hens. And that kee-kee, you can try to get those hens to come to you. If you ever have a situation early in the morning where they're separate, you got some birds roosted over here, you got some birds roosted over there, a lot of times that kee-kee, you'll hear them kee-keeing. And you'll hear them on the limb. I've heard them on the limb doing that. And what they're doing is trying to get together. And you know, they made it through the night. They're saying, I'm here, you got birds over here. I'm not saying they sit up there and just kee-kee the whole time, but you'll hear that, you know, early. And then they fly down and then they get together. So if you can be that hen and bring those other hens to you and bring that gobbler with them, then that's just another bonus.
Mark, I want you to get that trumpet call out, and I want you to me, you know, I've had the opportunity over the years to judge a lot of contests. I've judged the World Turkey Grand National several times, the World Duck. I've had listened to a lot of callers, but I have to say that trumpet call would get a high score with me, buddy. I'm gonna tell you something. That's turkey. He keeps it low and subtle. And that's a deadly call. And I'll be honest with you, Mark come to me one time and said, I want you to show me how to master that tube goose call. I said, if you'll show me how to master that trumpet call, he mastered goose, and I ain't mastered nothing yet in the trumpet, I can tell you. But anyway, I want him to demonstrate this trumpet call. It's a great sounding call. I know he calls lots of turkeys up with it and shoots them.
Well, I don't know that, one reason is that's pretty much all I use. I use a trumpet. So, you know, probably could have killed the same turkey with a diaphragm or any other call. It's a call I enjoy using. I believe in them. I think that there's a lot to a trumpet call. I think there's things that we don't understand about trumpets. I think turkeys respond to them in ways they don't other calls. I think they have a realism that a lot of people don't realize. But the turkeys do.
I've never called a turkey up with a trumpet call, so don't be looking to me to tell you how to use a trumpet call.
Well, there's if you hunt only with a trumpet, you kind of have to learn a few tricks and little different things. One of the hardest for me was to learn to call really soft and really get that realism down low. And there's one thing that me and Mr. Harold disagree on, and we talk about this all the time, but he don't call the turkeys on the limb. That's just how he hunts. And hey, he's killed a truckload of turkeys more than I have, but I do call to them on the limb, and I do soft stuff, really soft, and I hear turkeys yelping on the limb, soft yelping, tree yelping. I've heard them get aggressive yelping on the limb. And the only reason I would do it, you know, if I got a gobbler and he's by himself and I know he's by himself, I probably ain't gonna say anything until he's on the ground. There's just no need to. But if I got hens over here and hens over there, you know, I feel like I'm being left out. I feel like I want to be included in this thing. And maybe I've actually seen the time where a turkey is on the limb, you know, sneak in there in the dark, and you sit down and you look and you see that bird on the limb. And I have called soft to him, and they spin around. And if I can get him facing my direction, I feel like I got a little bit better chance. Not necessarily you got him licked, but I'm saying, you know, if he's got his back to me, you know, I don't feel as good about it, because I feel like they're gonna pitch down the direction that they're sitting. But one thing that I'll do is start off, and I've been running these tube calls, so my lips are kind of done, but I'll do the best I can. But I run real soft, and then I try to give them a wake up. I try to think about what a turkey sounds like waking up. That first few notes, that first little bit, and then they get a little bit more excited, and then they'll fly down, and then they get a little more excited. So what I'll start off with is just some tree calling. Try to sound like more than one turkey if you can. Nothing sets a turkey off better than knowing there's more turkeys over there and there's a party going on. If I can sound like more than one hen, then that's a bonus. And that might be a little clear hen, that might be a little raspier, louder hen, a little more aggressive. You got to remember, turkeys are having a conversation. Everything they say means something. So have a conversation. Have a conversation with the hens. Have a conversation with the gobbler. Let him hear a conversation. Let him hear two different hens. All that does is just make everything more realistic. And realism kills turkeys. It kills smart turkeys. It kills turkeys that have been fooled with. That's another thing. I hear all the time how hard it is to hunt public land turkeys. And it is. I've hunted, I learned to turkey hunt on public land, the Francis Marion National Forest. And it has more people than turkeys. And I can tell you, they hear it all. They don't hear a lot of trumpets, and that's a good thing. But one of the hardest things that I do is hunt behind me. If I go in there the first of the season and I call up 2 or 3 gobblers and I shoot one of them, and it took me a while and I had to do some coaxing, I done run my tube call, I done run my trumpet. They've heard everything I got. So I got to change up myself. So you got to think, if I got 500 acres and I'm hunting the same bird over and over, and he's hearing the same thing over and over, and you put pressure on that bird, and it isn't any different or any easier than killing a bird on public land. Because if you're going in there regular, and I know guys that hunt every morning, every evening, and they go to the same place and they call to the same bird over and over and over. And some people don't have a choice. That's the only place you got to hunt. That's the only bird you got, only one gobbling. So remember, change it up. Be more realistic, sound like more than one hen.
Does that sound like a turkey, yo? This year, I'm gonna take it on myself I've been practicing that trumpet call. Mark's been coaching me here. I'm gonna use that thing. So I'm gonna call a turkey up with somewhere this year. But we hunt different. We hunt different areas a lot. I hunt a lot of hardwood early in the spring. We don't have leaves on the trees. He's got leaves on his trees down in them pines year round. But the reason I don't like to call a turkey on a roost a lot of times, that sucker, he'll sit up there and gobble for 2 hours. Instead of me working him, he's worked me. And that's what the reason I don't like to call. Now, if it gets later on the season, the leaves are out, I'll call to him on the roost some. But early in that season, boy, and them little big hardwood trees, I let him fly to the ground before I ever give him much calling. But depends on where you're hunting. And, I've got to hunt a lot of different states, and everywhere I go, people will say, boy, this is the hardest place in the United States to kill a turkey. All this is. But I'm going to tell you something. What makes a turkey hard to hunt is a pressured turkey. You shoot a Jake and miss him, he's going to be tough to kill the rest of the year. If you shoot at a 2-year-old, he's going to be tougher. And if you shoot a 3-year-old, you ain't going to kill him that year. That's just about the way it is. Pressure is what makes turkey hunting real hard. Your eastern wild turkey to me is your toughest bird to hunt. I have run in some places in Alabama that I thought it had some extremely wild turkeys. I mean, they was tough. And we've got a place where I'm from, in the land between the lakes, it's where I was born and raised in western Kentucky, and that turkey is tough. Now, I've hunted all over the country, and I tell you what, that's a tough bird to hunt. And I don't know why exactly, the birds has been there ever since been man. They reintroduced some Mississippi and Missouri strain into them. They's wild before they've done that, and they're just as wild after they've done that. And I think it might be pressure for what's doing that. Has anybody got any questions? You know, feel free to ask a question. I've had 1,000 asked me today. I know dang well some of you got a question. You know, I've had, you know, I can't tell you what all people's asked me today about turkey hunting. And I've had some answers, and then I don't have some answers. I'm gonna tell you something. Them suckers humble me. I've said that a while ago, every year. And that's the reason I like turkey hunting. I ain't never figured it out. Yes, sir.
Mark, you've been talking about salt call. When, if ever, do you cut? Get aggressive.
Well, it's kind of like, I kind of relate it to, I don't run up to you when I see you in Walmart and say, hey man, how you doing? And get up, you know, loud and start yelling and stuff like that. You got to start soft. You can always, now, like Mr. Harold said, this is just my opinion. I don't have all the answers either. I've been whipped and everywhere I've been. But to me, you can always escalate. You can always get louder. But if you start off loud, it's really hard to paint that picture to get back soft. Because you've already, I have watched turkeys and seen turkeys where I maybe thought they were far off, they couldn't hear me real well, and I get aggressive and call to them, and they do that little wing set, and then they walk off kind of looking back, going away. They don't like it. So the main thing is never try to offend the turkey. Start really soft. Give him something that he has no reason to get upset about. Soft. Turkeys make noise all day long. If you were walking with a flock of turkeys all day long, you would hear turkeys every minute making some kind of a sound. It doesn't upset anything. Everybody's feeding. You don't see heads going up. You hear purring and you hear soft yelping, which I believe, this is just my opinion again, I see all these TV people, you know, nobody's done more TV than Mr. Harold. But I see it all the time. These guys are on there purring. To me, when you purring, you ought to be shooting.
That's right.
You can say the exact same thing, but you're portraying a content turkey that is happy, satisfied. You can do the exact same thing with a soft yelp. Same thing. When you hear turkeys, when you see turkeys feeding, yeah, they're gonna be purring, but they're also gonna be that little, just soft. So start off there. If you're not getting a response, if you can see the bird, watch how he acts, how he responds. If you see a bird, if you call to him soft and he just keeps feeding, and you get a little bit more, and then you see that tail fan kind of go up like that and then go back down, I'm gonna kind of get on him then. I'm gonna try to get that tail fan back up and get him excited where he wants to come to me.
I tell you, when I cut, I hunt a lot of big pieces of land. I mean, one piece of ground to hunt is 185,000 acres. I get in my truck. I learned this, I was one of the first to do this, but now a lot of people picked up on it. I get in that truck, I drive, I get out and cut as loud as I can. And if he asks me more than twice, I go to him. If he asks me one time, I say, that's a courtesy you got. I ain't wanting him. I hunted with Ronnie Strickland a couple of years ago, and he had that old tube call, and it's just like it's on this microphone here. It's loud, my gosh, you could hear it from a mile. He got a tank of turkey dancer just for as we could hear. And we go to him, I said, Ronnie, give it to him again. And then we got to him, we softened up and called the turkeys up and killed them. But, you know, that's when it works, when, you know, turkey's a long way away, you can cut real loud and make him gobble, give his location away, and then try to get on him and soft call him. But there is times I really like to bear down and cut loud to them. All right, any other question? That's a good question. Yes, sir.
You were talking about how you can educate a turkey, like you said, from one Jake or 2-year-old, 3-year-old. How long do you think that memory of that education lasts? Do you think it laps over into the next year, or if that turkey lives to be 3, 4, 5 years old, do you still think they have that memory, or do you think it kind of resets after a certain period of time?
I don't know, if I shoot at a bird, he wants to know how long can they remember, you think? You know, if I shoot at a 2-year-old, gosh, he's educated the rest of the year. Man, he's tough to call up. I don't know if they can, how they can remember from one year to the next. I don't know that. But, you know, what do you think about that, Mark?
Well, there again, this is my opinion, but I tell you what I believe, and I've watched, there's a show, many of you probably saw it, My Life as a Turkey or whatever, where the guy raised the turkeys. He took those turkeys out and he walked with them every day. And he would get to a place, what I'm trying to get at is I believe turkeys remember, they don't remember all this stuff like people think, but they associate something bad happening at a certain spot, at a certain thing happening. So this guy would take these turkeys for a walk, and they would go through the woods, and one day he encountered a rattlesnake by this stump, right? So the turkeys all spooked, and they all kind of went around the rattlesnake. They encounter snakes all the time, things like that. They encounter bobcats, coyotes, all that, all the time. So from then on, when he would take them for a walk, they got to that stump, or that whatever, they would go around it, whether it was a snake there or not. They associate things happening in certain spots. That means if I miss a turkey at a crossroads or at a, you know, whatever, I'm not going to set back up in the same place and try to call that turkey back to the same exact spot. I'm going to change it up. I'm going to come at him from a different way. I'm going to use a different call. I shot at a turkey one time and missed him, just flat out missed him in a field. I called him all the way across the field, and I could not get that turkey to come back across the field. I hunted him for several weeks after that, and I finally realized I went around the other side, changed to a different call, changed the way I approached him, and it made all the difference in the world. I killed him. Now, I believe, this is just me now, but I believe when I hunt a turkey, I tell myself I got one opportunity, one shot at this thing. Got to get it right. So I want to make a presentation, and I want everything right. I want to be sitting in the right spot. I want to be in a place where he wants to come to, and I want to be I want to call to him at the right time. And a lot of people just go through the woods calling, and you're walking around and doing all this stuff, but I want to sit down and make a presentation, and I want everything, you know, if I was trying to get you to do something and, you know, whatever, I would try to present it in a way that it would be appealing to you, and I wouldn't want to say something that wouldn't be. So that's what I want to do with that turkey. I want to make sure that everything is right before I make the first call. I don't even want to call to him until I'm where I need to be, or I'm in a position to get to where I need to be. I don't put myself in a corner where, well, if he comes halfway and stops, I can't move because I'm wide open here. So that's kind of the way I look at it.
All right, any other questions? Yes, sir, right in the very back.
What about this myth about you can't call the turkey downhill or you can't call him across the stream?
I've called them downhill and I've called them across rivers. And I've had them to hang up and not come to me. You know, I think it's just a situational thing. You know, it just depends on that turkey and terrain you hunt. One time I was hunting in Montana on the Milk River, and that river's fairly wide, and it's not real wide, not like the Mississippi or nothing like that, but we caught several turkeys. They come to the bank, they'd walk around, next thing you know, they'd fly right over to us. And that was a marine turkey. These eastern turkeys, by golly, is a lot tougher, I think. You know, your marine turkey to me is a lot easier to kill, and your Rio Grande's easier to kill than the eastern. But uphill, there's an old man told me something I'll never forget. He said, son, when a turkey is on a hill and he's facing towards you and he's out of shooting range, if you'll shoot, he'll fly right over you. I said, bull. I tried that one time. That turkey flew right over me. He was pointed my way, I shot, boom, he flew right over my head. I ain't gonna tell you I killed him now, but that's what that turkey done. But anyway, it's so many variables in turkey hunting, my gosh. What works today might not work tomorrow. That's why I say you can't write your speech out and expect to go right by what the next day, what you thought of in bed that night. Because you will change your speech every time, most of the time you will. In my life, I've hunted lots of times. I don't like to know how many days I've hunted the last 65 years or 67 years. But I can tell you one thing, I've never seen one too easy. My gosh, I appreciate them easy turkeys. You know, y'all have asked some good questions. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I got two things. One, the quail call. About 40 years ago, I talked with you in Atlanta. And
How many years ago?
About 40 years ago.
Oh, my gosh.
And I asked you about that call, and you didn't have any, but you looked in your briefcase, and you had one, and you sold it to me. But I'm not as good on it as you are.
Well, I'll buy it back from what you did for it. How's that?
The other thing, you used to sell a latex, yellow and green, in a packet.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, I couldn't find that anymore. Is it because the latex is hard to find, or do you actually sell that anymore?
It's not really. If you come by the booth after you get through, I'll give you a piece.
Okay.
How's that?
Yeah.
All right, I won't sell it, I'll give it to you.
Because it made a difference for me with the tube.
All right? Yes, sir.
What about the days when you go and you've done your hoot out, you've done your crow call, you've done your quail, you cut at him on your tube, nothing?
Tough day.
Do you ever encounter those?
I've had that happen to me lots of times, brother. I have. I mean, I've had that happen lots of times. You know, a turkey is so much more fun to hunt when you hear him gobble. And if you can hear that turkey gobble, you'll stay there most of the day. But when he quits gobbling, you know, you're ready to do something else. I tell you a big mistake I've watched people do in turkey hunting. You've set up on a turkey, and he's gobbling, 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 and then he just quits. You'll sit there, instead of getting up, slipping out this way, and going around at a different location like Mark was talking about a while ago, you get up and go right straight to him, and you scare the fool out of him. Don't never do that. If that turkey quits gobbling, get up and change your location. Slip around real easy. And where I hunt, you can do that a lot because we got more hills. And probably where Mark hunts is tougher, but he's thicker. It's a lot thicker down there than it is where I hunt. But go to a different location, and you'd be surprised what the turkey, just changing location, what they'll do. I'm surprised. I have not had anybody at this show, and I've talked to a lot of people, come up to me and say, what about fanning turkeys? I'm surprised at that. I'm guilty of fanning them, but my favorite way to hunt them is just taking off, running, gunning. But I don't get to do that a lot. I take a lot of people. I take a lot of children. I take a lot of older people that can't walk. I take them turkey hunting, and I have to get in the blind. And it's no disgrace to take somebody that wants to go turkey hunting and set in the blind. It's no disgrace. But I was thinking today, and I think we were talking about, Mark, how turkey hunting has changed. You think about it. When I grew up, you didn't have good shotguns. If you had an old single barrel you was lucky. That's been a long time ago. You didn't have calls. You didn't have, if somebody had an old Gibson turkey call, did anybody know what an old Gibson turkey call is? Buddy, I tell you what, you had some. And now then, come to this show right here today. It's some of the most talented people in the turkey hunting industry is right in this building calls. And I went around to every one of them. I've tried to go around to every one of them, look at the stuff, and I'm amazed at the quality of it is. And I hope they sell every dang piece, because these people deserve it. They work hard. They work hard to make this stuff. The end of the questions. All right.
Harold, I think I have one of those quail whistles like that. You make the loud sound on the inhale or on the exhale?
It's all inhale.
All inhale?
Yeah, like. And that's what makes them gobble, that high-pitched sound.
I didn't know I could do that with it.
Yeah, now, let me tell you something. You need, don't put that in your pocket and pull it out and do that. I'm serious, I have sucked garbage down my throat because it told me to take me an hour to get it out. But anyway, that is an effective call. And, you know, I like to try things that he don't hear. You know, he hears an owl, he hears a crow, but he'll answer. But that thing right there last year, 1 or 2 times, really hit me hunt.
I actually had a little honk call that's a reach
Sure,
call,
yeah, it's
and
good.
it does the same thing, but I didn't know I could do that.
Yeah. By the way, if you won't sell that call back to me for what you gave for it, I'm here wanting to buy it.
I think I got it from my grandfather.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
You making me feel older. All right, any other questions? Yes, sir, back there standing up.
So, I've heard y'all say, and you hear a lot of people say, 10 o'clock in the morning, hens start to go to nest, best time to kill a gobbler. Well, I went down to Mississippi, and we have some open fields, and it seems like more and more, they're going later into the season and holding a lot of hens with them throughout the whole day. To where they're not, 10, 11 o'clock, they still have 6, 7 hens with them. I know it makes for a tough hunt, but what would y'all suggest on, so our season comes in early, the 15th of March. I mean, for that first 15 to 20 days, it's hard to catch them without a hen with them, other than a young 2-year-old.
That is a tough question. That's a tough situation. I've been in that situation before, and there's really nothing you can do. You can't walk to them. You can't do anything. You're stuck, and you end up you got a couple different chances to do something. I like to try to make something happen sometimes. Sometimes I'm very patient, sometimes I'm not. But if I got somewhere else to go, I'll probably go somewhere else and come back and maybe hunt those birds later, like in the afternoon or whatever. After a while, I kind of feel like they realize that those hens aren't interested because they're just feeding around and they're just standing there strutting. And it may be that showing them a little bit of interest will make them break loose. I've been real aggressive with turkeys like that, and I've had them break loose and come. Maybe one. There's always going to be 1 or 2 that's going to stay with them hens. Get real aggressive. Maybe you can get those birds to come to you, or one of them, or soft talk to hens. It's also a big, big deal to know those birds. Know where they want to be, where are they going to go. If they're going to be in that field all day, which corner do they like the best? All those variables make a big difference, because if you say, man, these turkeys are in the middle of that field, and then every evening they go out the back of that field, I'm going to be at the back of that field. That's where I'm going to start. That's where they want to go. It'd be easier to call them that way because they want to go that way anyway. So that's just, it's a tough situation, but that's just a couple options.
How many people here use the fan? Has anybody here ever used a fan? That situation right there is deadly. If you see them hens and 2 gobblers, if you can get to them and show them that fan, your chance of that sucker running right to you is good, I can tell you. Now, if you like it, it's fine. If you don't, it's fine. It's just how you want to hunt. If it's legal, it's legal. And I'm telling you, that's effective. That fan is effective. When he sees that fan, I tell you what I done. I made a decoy fan. I took me a gobbler, skinned him, and put him on a board for his breast, put his red in his head and the tail feathers, and you put it out there and them iridescent feathers, that old gobbler, you know, in the spring of the year, how shiny he is, man alive, it's on. A lot of times I'll do just about anything to try to kill a turkey. I can tell you that, and it don't work every time, that fan don't, but it'll work a lot of times. If you want a fan, it's fine if it's legal. If you don't, it's fine. You know, hunt your style, hunt the way you want to hunt. Y'all have asked a good question. Any more questions? Yes, sir.
So I got a question that kind of goes off of that one. So I got this one bird that, I mean, this year will probably be 5, and he's hunted the last 4 years. He does pretty much the same thing every time we hunt him. He roosts over a creek, flies to the center of the field, tries to fan it, he turns and runs the other way every single time, pretty much. He just wants to see something come out in that field, a hen, and he just will not come any closer. He sticks about 90 yards, and I'm not one to reach out there and try to touch one at 90 yards. So, I mean, are you trying to get back in the woods, just off that field?
What state are you hunting in?
Georgia.
Is it legal to have decoys?
Yes, sir.
You know, a lot of times that decoy work, you know, it
Yeah.
works. It works more than it don't work for me, a decoy does.
So you're just gonna go ahead and get there early, put a decoy in the field? and
Absolutely. Now, you remember, you said something right there, around water, you know. I think that a turkey hunter, the more he learns about a wild turkey, why he likes to roost around that water, you need to learn all you can about a wild turkey. Start from the day that sucker's hatched and go right through his life. If you learn all that, I'm telling you, you'll be a better turkey hunter. Now, the situation you're talking about, an old turkey, I don't care what you do. An old turkey, older he gets, the tougher he is, I can tell you. He's just tougher. Like an old deer. You know, an old buck, you know, he's nocturnal. And that old turkey, you know, he don't come to every call. And he won't even come to a live hen sound. You know, that's the way that sucker is. So, you got a tough situation on old turkeys like that. Find you a younger turkey, is all I can say. But, that's good, y'all asked a good question. I tell you what, we don't have all the answers, but boy, I've been, over the years, I've run into about every situation you can, and I've had them whoop me about every way they can. All right, one other question here. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Eric, just a quick question, and Mark kind of touched on this. I mean, these birds are all different, they respond differently, but, one hunt that really kind of stands out to me was 2 years ago in Tennessee. It was a late season hunt, and we could see this bird in the field, and every time you called to him, or the hen called, he'd gobble. And he'd just keep gobbling along the way until he was about to go through a gate. So I decided to flip the mouth call around and gobble at him, and this bird flipped as soon as he come around that gate, and I gobbled to him the entire way. But for a hen call, he didn't have nothing to do with it, but he wanted to come fight that gobbler. Any thoughts on that? I've heard, you know, a bird late season like that could react that way, but just kind of get your thoughts on that.
Well, I tell you what works for me, and a lot of people are scared to gobble. A lot of people don't even think about gobbling. I gobble the turkeys all the time. And I'll tell you why. I like realism, like we talked about before. So, all these people putting decoys out, you putting a gobbler or a Jake decoy out, they know what it is. They know it's a gobbler. So why would a gobble be any different? All right, so instead of giving them the visual, you're giving them the audio. Where I hunt is really thick, and even if I don't hunt with decoys a lot, but even if I did, they wouldn't see them. So what I would do is in a situation like that, when I got a bird that's hung up and he won't come to me, I'll gobble at him. It'd be pretty much the same thing as showing him a fan or showing him you're giving him the audio version of that. You know, he's like, oh, there's a gobbler right there. I'm not going to tolerate that, and he's going to come in there. So that's one thing. You know, don't be afraid. And that's one reason why I started running a tube call. You know, I think that there's hardly anything that gobbles better than a tube call. And that's just one more tool in the box. You know, that's one more thing that can help you make an unsuccessful hunt successful. So I wouldn't be scared to gobble. Now, I don't just run out there and start gobbling. That's kind of one of maybe the later things I'll try. And of course, you gotta be careful too, especially where I'm at. Like I say, it's thick. You're in a thicket and you're gobbling, you know, if you're on a place that other people hunt, you know, you gotta be careful with that, but.
How many people shoot your shotgun before you go turkey hunting this spring? You better. I'm gonna tell you something. I test them a lot. I really shoot a lot. And I'm a big, tungsten fan. I bet Mark don't even shoot, do you? I bet you shoot numbers.
Well, I like it and it's great. It's the best thing ever for killing turkeys. I'm just old school.
Uses a double barrel.
I shoot an old double barrel and I load my own shells and I'm shooting low powered 6s and I shoot them at 20 yards and that's just my thing. But you can't beat tungsten for effectiveness.
Well, I was doing a television show with our home state of Kentucky, a field they call it. And I went in Lexington, Kentucky 4 or 5 years ago, and I told them, I said, the coming thing in turkey shells is gonna be your tungsten. So they came down and done a show. And I said, bring you the 410, bring you 20 and your 12. Bring you shells, whatever you wanna shoot. I'm shooting, I believe, Apex number 9 shot, 3-inch, for 20 gauge and a 12 gauge. We had long beard, we shot them all. And when we got through shooting, it was very obvious what they was gonna shoot and what I was gonna shoot. When a number 9 shot in tungsten is the same weight as a number 5 in lead, remember that. But you've got several hundred more of them. I don't know how many hundred, it depends on your load. And I'm finding out so much stuff on chokes. You know, I was shooting the modified, and I think this year I'm going to improve cylinder. And I don't advocate shooting turkeys out there no 75 yards, but I can tell you one thing, some through that thick stuff, they come up to me and peek their head up and look, and not coming at 45, 50 yards, I can kill them with that tungsten. And shoot your gun, because all shells shoot different, I find that out.
Temperature variations too, in the climate where you're shooting.
I'm sorry?
Temperature variations.
Yeah.
60 degrees out, 40 degrees out.
That's exactly right.
Some guys want to shoot a gun at 40 degrees, the gun shoots totally different. at 60,
I
70 degrees
shoot
out.
a dot scope. The Vortex Optics is very good to me, and I shoot their product, and I'm gonna tell you something, that thing has helped me and a lot of people that I take hunting more than anything. Because a lot of these guns, people don't shoot straight. I guarantee you get most of them don't. You go out there and shoot them. You shoot high, low, left, or right. With that little dot scope, you can line that thing up right on. And I believe in that. And I hate, boy, I had a guy come to me last year and said, I ain't paying no $8 for no turkey shell. He come back from turkey hunting and he's had a face that long. He said, I shot one of them get away. I said, you'd pay $20 for a shell, wouldn't you? He said, yes, I would. So, but it's not, you know, you're not dove hunting, turkey hunting. You know, box shell's gonna cost you $40, $50, $60. But I'm gonna tell you something, they are good. Will a longbeard kill one or a regular shot? Yes, it will. I've killed hundreds of them with it over the years. But I'm gonna tell you, they've improved them tremendously. I do not use a 12 gauge anymore, I use a 20 or a 410. And that's how much more effective these guns and shells are now over when I started. When I started, listen, I had 7 brothers, or not 6 brothers, 7 of us. But you had to hide your shells to have one turkey hunt in the spring. And there was old paper shells in. I've told people this a lot of time, and I'd hide mine to get down. Couldn't get them in a gun, had to sand them down. And there wasn't no count to begin with, this little light load shell, but that's all I had. Now then, you know, these kids and hunters have got all these guns, shells, clothes, my gosh. And I tell you something else, at home I see so many kids go turkey hunting, and I love to see the young hunt, but they feel like they failed if they don't kill a turkey every day. listen, folks, if I seen a turkey track or heard one gobble, it made my year when I was a kid. And don't feel that way. Learn to enjoy what you're doing. Don't put the pressure on you. Go out there and enjoy it. My gosh, it's a great sport for women and men and children. Lots of kids is hunting turkeys, killing them at 7, 8, 9 years old. I didn't even know how to shoot a gun at 7 years old. I had a slingshot, a flip when I done it, but, all right, any other question? We're about to round this thing. All right, yes, sir, back there.
I got 2 questions. A lot of places I hunt, it's about feeding turkey. Acres are always covered. Do you believe that turkey have the memory from year to year to know what oaks produce? You believe they have the capability and have the memory to remember where food is?
I believe wildlife has the ability to survive, and I believe that they know what to eat and what. I'm not saying they sitting there and they look at their calendar and say, well, it's time to go to that old live oak on the ridge over there.
Because it seems like certain times of year, like clockwork, they find them and they go dig way down deep to get them, and it's almost makes me wonder like they have a memory and they got a memory that good.
It almost makes you think a turkey can smell.
I think it's all in God's plan. Why did the ducks fly south for the winter? How do they know where to go? Where do they? All these things happen because that's just the way everything works.
Does anybody think a turkey can smell?
Dr. Tom,
Huh? Do what?
that Dr. Tom, that said, this makes, remember they thought he could.
You know what? It's amazing to me how they can find stuff. It amazes me. I asked that question one time. The guy said, I know he can smell. If you hang him up a tree on a hot day, 3 days in a row, he'll smell. But anyway, we're gonna have to, we're gonna take one more question, then we got, yes, sir, and back.
With both y'all's experience with tube calls and how long you've been messing with them, have you guys ever put any cuts in your latex? Like a cut in a mouth call or anything like that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've put 2 reeds on them. I've cut them all different ways, and Mr. Harold taught me all that kind of stuff over the years. There's a lot of things you can do. I've messed up a lot of latex, and I've experimented and tried different things, but he still runs cuts in his a lot.
Yeah, I take a cut every time. It makes it just a little more raspy. That's what a cut will do to a call. And I don't like to take the membrane is really tight. I like it just a little loose. It gives you just a better sound, I think. Y'all asked some good questions. You've been a good audience. And I tell you what, I appreciate the opportunity to come to Helen, Georgia. And I'll say this, I go to a lot of places and I stay in a lot of places. This hotel here is nice. We're supposed to have the #1 state park in the state of Kentucky where I live. But I'm gonna tell you something. This is much, much more cleaner and better. I'm gonna tell you that. Hats off to this state park here. And this show right here is remarkable. I'm gonna tell you something. I've really enjoyed talking. I've seen so many people I've known over the years, call makers, and I'm gonna tell you something. Us turkey hunters and call makers or whoever, we don't need to be running each other down and running the product down. You need to be all together. We are a very small group of hunters. We need to hold up for one another and by gosh, stand up for hunting. Don't be afraid to tell people that you're a hunter. And I'm gonna tell you something, folks, there's a lot of people in this country now that won't take our hunting privilege away from us. And if they get half a chance, they will. By gosh, when you go to the poll and know who you're voting for, I don't care, just vote. Go and vote these people out. Because I'm gonna tell you something, us hunters got a tough way to go, I think, in the future. But anyway, this has been such a great show. I've enjoyed talking to all of you. And of course, I always like to be a Mark. Mark's one of my favorite people in the world. And I still say he's the best caller all around. You got anything to say, Mark?
No, I appreciate it. I enjoy coming here every year and appreciate what Mark Sharp and them are doing. It's a lot to put this show on, and to see the amount of people that was here this year, and seems like everybody's pretty healthy and everything's good. That's all we can really ask for, and glad to see everybody. And if anybody has any more questions or anything after, come by the booth.
See all of you at the National Wild Turkey Convention.